of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour Podcast, brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com. It's myself, Dean Ryan, and I'm joined, as always, Demo Nolan is here.
Hello, Dino. How are you, buddy?
Very well, Demo. Very well. How are you keeping?
All good. All good. All good. Another packed weekend of racing. So, well, hopefully weather permitting, Dino.
Exactly. We're going to need a little bit of luck from the weather gods, I think, this weekend to get some of the action on. Of course, it's the big meeting at Fairyhouse, like the Royal Bond and the Drimore and stuff like that. One of the best meetings, Irish side, of course, this side of the calendar year. And then over at Newbury, if it gets to go ahead, we've got like the Coral Gold Cup, the old Hennessy, of course. Fight Fifth is on at Newcastle. If that goes ahead, rehearsal chase, Shiskin might be consenting, might not. We'll talk about that in a bit. Stephen Cass has joined us for this merry run towards the Christmas period. Stephen, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah. No, the racing's a nice distraction. Christmas is the craziest time of the year for me. I could be clocking up north of 100 hours a week now from next week on. So this is the last hurrah.
The rest of the year, Stephen, so I hear.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Summer's
unless the Eurovision's on, you're pretty quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fair play. Okay. Do get your hampers, obviously, of course, from Cass.
Yes, Cass and Co. Give us a ring. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Custom made and sent to your door. Okay, on this week's edition of the Race Hour, we're going to be covering a little bit of John Durkan chat, a little bit of Brave Man's game. Brave Man's gone, perhaps. We'll have a look at the Gold Cup and King George picture, because that is changing by the day. We've got some very big disappointments so far from some of the biggest chasers in the game, and we need to talk about them. We'll also discuss a bit of Gaelic Warrior. Shishkin's got to be on the menu, of course. We'll have a general chat about the National Hunt season, and then we will get into the tipping, of course, in the second half of the podcast, where we'll cover off a bit of Newbury, Fairyhouse, which is obviously going to be on the tip of everyone's tongues this weekend with some big horses going over. And that's what we're going to get in. So we'll get stuck in. The John Durkan, probably one of the most interesting races from last weekend, although there were plenty. We saw the return of Galopin Des Champs, went off, I think 1-2 in the end, was beaten, and by a horse that I think we all decided wasn't the second coming, could now be the second coming. Nolan, fast or slow, was the winner of the John Durkan. Appreciate it was second. Galopin Des Champs back in third. A very disappointing run. This Gold Cup does break a few animals. Has it broken that one?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, look, Willie will be more than likely working back from the Gold Cup anyway. Now, I think he did look fairly fit and straight for it, but again, that's completely from an untrained eye, which I have. They're not great eyes either. I thought straight away after the race, Dean, I was quite forgiving of it. I kind of said, like, it is what it is. It's kind of one of those things where you can move on after it, but it's hard to forgive it now. When I look back on it a few times afterwards, his jumping wasn't great for the first bit of the Gold Cup anyway last year, but it really wasn't great here. Very scratchy. He still got there. Like, compare it with Jerry Colomb, who had a nightmare up and down Ryle, but he got there and he won in the end. Galopin Des Champs was there to win, and he just didn't go through with it. This horse does have a brain of his own. He does do things on his own. I've no doubt that Willie Mullins will be able to insert a spark, as he said, was missing in him. But it just leaves an awful lot of blood in the market. This division that we will move on to is extremely interesting now, but it's hard to pick one anyway. But look, he still deserves to be favourite. Obviously, you wouldn't be kind of, completely writing him off, but I'll definitely be kind of happy to take him on now as the season goes on, unless he does show that devastating ability in him. But the real question to come out of this is, how the hell did Fast or Slow not win that ultimate? I don't know whether JJ Slevin needs to have his license checked, or I don't know. The whole I understand.
He's done all right on him since then. I think. Maybe
I'm only messing. He's a brilliant pilot, but the Corat Rambler has gone on and obviously has won a Grand National since, but it hasn't. Not this. This is grade 1 form. Corat Rambler was left behind in that Betfair chase and stayed on late, but Fast or Slow, he's only getting better. It's an incredible ultimate, but the Gold Cup picture, Galopin Des Champs and everything else, Dean, a lot more questions than answers anyway.
Hey, look, we will have a quick chat about it as well. I just come to Stephen though on the John Durkan. Obviously, it's just shy of 2 mile forward, Stephen, right? So maybe it wouldn't have been right up the street of every animal in the race. But you just imagine Galopin Des Champs, a free going, they've had to kind of cajole him into being this stamina laden horse. I thought he should have been coming away winning that.
At his best, he would have won it. Yeah, like if you put up the performance he put up last year, he would have won it. He laughed at me last year before Cheltenham when I said this fella's a sketchy jumper, and there was loads of evidence for that. Going back to Fairyhouse when he beat Master McShee, he jumped brutal. He jumped really bad at Cheltenham. Made loads of mistakes when he was going to win a course before he came down at the last. Jumped poorly in the first half of the Gold Cup. They were different kind of poor jumping performance. So at the weekend, he nearly looked like a horse that was struggling to get over the obstacles at times, which would suggest maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe he's hurt. I would be a big believer of the Gold Cup leaving a mark. I know it's not great for our arguments of we want horses to run more and so on, but I do think the Gold Cup generally, as a general rule, if you make a call, you know what, I'm going to presume it's left a mark. I reckon 15 of the last 20 years you would have been right. So it's odds on that the Gold Cup winner is going to underperform the next season. It's normal, and I'd be kind of, until he proves otherwise, taking that approach. He'll go to Leopardstown for the Irish Gold Cup, and he'll be odds on, I would guess. Depending on what's against him. And he might well win that, but I think it's blown the Gold Cup wide open. I think Brave Man's gone, as you said. Like, he's had 3 chances now. He fell in a hole at Punchestown. Like, he looked like he had that Punchestown race won. In the Punchestown Gold Cup, he fell in a hole there, and he's fallen in a hole the last twice. That's 3 times in a row. Look, 3 strikes and you're out, really. Like, you let him come back and win the King George now, and he might well do, but I would be taking on the 2 of them forevermore, and let us be proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Brave Man's Game hasn't won a race now in a year. You're going all the way back to winning at King George, of course, 26th of December last year. So, like, he's had 4 cracks, Gold Cup in there, of course, but beaten by Fast or Slow, Gentleman's Game, and now Royal Guy. That Betfair chase fell apart a little bit, and the one that loved the conditions and is an old stager and actually ran in that Gold Cup that we're talking about, finished 6th in last year's Gold Cup, came through and win. I mean, you mentioned that Gold Cup.
Was really well punted. He was punted. Yeah,
he was. I think there must be, there obviously is consensus. We didn't think Brave Man's Game would turn up in a Betfair chase, and just for it to turn up there with a different jockey, and it seems like the owners got their way rather than the training connections. And so, like, if you go through that Gold Cup, I did see this posted up on Twitter, right? It's not my own work, but Galopin Des Champs now beaten twice, both at odds on. Brave Man's Game beaten twice, both at odds on. Got Conflated's been beaten 3 times by everything. Noble Yates been beaten twice. Protectorat's already been beaten. Royal Guy came out and won, in fairness, but has also been beaten. And he got Eldorado Allen 3 times. Sounds Russian's not been seen since. Hewitt's won. He won in America since then. I think that must have happened. Ahoy Senor's been beaten twice, go this weekend. Aplutar, Manila Indo's won a race, and Statler pulled up at the weekend. Not great advert, Demo, is it?
No. I look, it is. It's a simple thing. I think, like, Manila Indo is one of the only horses maybe the last few years to kind of come out after winning and at least go close the following year, apart from Albin Photo, obviously. Like, but I mean, the kind of thing, minutes. Like, it's just more often than not, Don Cossack, Imperial Commander, yeah. There's so many of them, Dean. That race does. Like, Paul Keeley has an article saying the Racing Post where he goes about debunking that myth myth in inverted commas about the Gold Cup leaving a mark on a horse. But I find that a hard argument to actually make and kind of make stand up, because there's just an awful lot of them, bar the Album Photos, who pretty much had their whole year built around it, that the rest of the horses they just don't seem to reach the level again.
You'd be minus 28% or something if you back them all on their subsequent runs, all Gold Cup winners. So they're over bet anyway. So just as a general approach, take them on. That's my view. I don't really care whether they are the horse they were, blah blah. Like, it's punting I care about. And yeah, as a general approach, it'll pay to take them on.
Fair. I have like one slight theory here, right? And you kind of alluded to it just before, Stephen, when you were saying, it debunks the argument where we're all saying they should race these horses more. When you get to a Gold Cup and the level and the pace that they go and the demands that test puts on a horse, for that to be the kind of first time you've had to go to the well might be the best way to win a Gold Cup, because you can do it the one time. And then it might not be the best way, though, for longevity in chases to keep them so cotton wool wrapped until that day. And perhaps, there's probably some arguments against this, but if you go to the well more often, the right horses rise to the top, can handle it more often, and therefore won't end their career in a Gold Cup. It's something that can only be proven by running something more and more and more. Royal Guy's come out and won. He'd be on that list, I'd say. That was aimed at you, Cass.
Oh yeah. Like I know what you're saying. Look, there's a lot to it. I think in a way they're getting to their Gold Cup season too late anyway. So they're already at the end of their tether. They're spending bumper season, novice hurdle, novice chase.
Willie's the worst for that. I mean,
They're and a point-to-point season, so they're in their fifth season racing before they're in the Gold Cup. If they're trying to go on again, they're in their sixth season racing. I think that's a huge part of it. To be honest, I have a lot to say on this in the later part of how we can adjust the national season anyway. So we'll get to that. Can I just say in terms of the Gold Cup, I think there is a bet in there now. I was blown away with Classic Getaway over 2 mile 6 at Thurles. That I think this race is what was the old Kinloch Bray, which used to be in January. And Sizing John won this when he was Upton Trip on the way to the Gold Cup. So it was a good race today. And he absolutely destroyed them. Classic Getaway is open to any amount of improvement. It feels like a year something can come from left field and emerge, and he has the class to do it. And another little angle I would take, this is a bit mad now, but you'll get well over 1,000 to 1 double on the related form of him beating Manila Cocooner, who I think would be one for the 3 mile 6 race. That was a really good beginner's chase at Gorn last year. The two of them, Manila Cocooner is still a novice, so I would say you could back that related form double and you'd probably get in the region of about 1,200 to 1 on the double. So that's just another take, but I thought Classic Getaway was really, really good. You'd hope Allaho will be Ryanair, therefore they'll be trying to get this horse into the Gold Cup picture. And 40 to 1 in a weak field appeals to me anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Classic Getaway is, as you say, 40s for the blue riband or the blue ribbon. What do you? Doesn't matter. Galopin Des Champs and Jerry Colomb now almost vying for favouritism at the top of that. When you look at the King George market and the Gold Cup market, as much as they've shifted over the last couple of weeks, I do, like you say, the Gold Cup's been blasted wide open. Is that there's probably a world where if Jerry Colomb, with all this money coming for the King George demo, goes and wins a King George, that'll be Gold Cup favourite.
Yeah, which is kind of mental, isn't it? Considering, like I'm in a real quandary with Jerry Colomb, as in this is a horse that I always loved, really loved them. Got quite confident before down Royal that I thought that he was a proper Gold Cup horse, but he looked very boaty that day. Unless the trainer knows more than I do, he was good enough to win over 2 mile 4 last year, but that race was just cack, really. So, like, when you look now, I don't know if he's quick enough for King George. I really don't. Like, even Don Cossack, my favorite horse, had to be, he was taken off the bridle. I actually still think that he would have beaten Q-Card that day, but Jerry Colomb wouldn't be up to that standard even. But yeah, Dean, like, it's just a mental division. I'd actually be happy enough to follow Cassin out. That's why I wasn't looking at my screen there. I was trying to get on there. There's something to kind of come from left field. I'm looking forward to seeing how long Press is. A horse
mildly forgotten about, isn't he?
A horse that could have made the Gold Cup last year, but they decided not to. That, he was only 8, he'll be 9 kind of into Gold Cup. He was devastatingly brilliant in that RSA. Now, I know Brave Man's Game, I remember the strop you threw, Dean, down at the start when that message came through that Brave Man's Game wasn't running. But
very expensive message.
Yeah. Long Press was outstanding that day. He'd be the kind of horse that I'd be looking at for left field, but it's a Gold Cup division that I know we say every year, God, there's kind of loads of horses coming from it. There's loads of horses that you can keep ticking them off there and saying no, and you end up way down. Nearly a Ramley's there. I'm looking at, but he won a point the weekend. So it's a mental division.
Well, another one. If you forgave Braun the run, and you could,
we've had this chat.
Willies aren't running great, but he's 250 to 1 on Betfair. You know what I mean? Like, you could have a tenner at that now. And that might not look silly come the Gold Cup.
Sure. Any thoughts on how this King George is going to shake up? I've been amazed to see the money coming for Jerry. Maybe it's only just I see all the right faces, all that kind of stuff being talked about. But currently favourite over Brave Man's Game is obviously disappointing. But you could still have Allaho. You could have a rejuvenated Shishkin if he goes and runs well at Newcastle this weekend. If that's some long presses in there, Robert Guy's already won this year. I don't know if it's going to suit Jerry. We thought the last day wouldn't suit Jerry though, Stephen, and he won.
Yeah, and I actually thought he was really good the last day. A bit sticky starting out though. You worried he'd just get out of his ground, wouldn't you? He got out of his ground in the Brown Advisory. He got out of his ground a little bit at Down Royal. If you get out of your ground at Kempton, it's very hard to come back. So that'd be the worry with him. I'd love to see him go for the race, and then maybe you'd have Gentleman's Game and Fast or Slow at Leopardstown. So you do two good contests in terms of Gold Cup trials. I've no view on the betting though. I think. Yeah, there's a lot of them you'd put a line through in a way, I think, in terms of having a chance, which means that something could come from nowhere. But yeah, I don't know what that one is.
Edwardstone's fascinating, isn't he?
Allaho would be built for this, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, we've always thought so.
I think he looked gone the last day now. Like they didn't try a yard. Was it Janet that was second? I thought he looked like he was good. Looked like he was struggling now at Clonmel, if you ask me.
Yeah, he won though. In fairness, that's the only thing back from it. Yeah,
I hear you. Yeah.
He did win. But and look, like Venetia Williams said immediately after the race, any other horse and Royal Pagay would be favourite for the King George after doing what he did. He's 14-1 for that. But again, yeah, Dean, it's a really sore division to try and mull through. Like, you either go and try and find a mental one like Cass did, because again, the year when Sizing John, Cass had that season, won the Gold Cup. That was another wishy-washy year where Jack Haddam ended up favourite again that year, didn't he? After not kind of getting home the two previous seasons. So, like, it is one of those kind of divisions overall now. Like, even like some Edwardstone there, if he was to turn up here, because even like, look at Long Press here. He's not guaranteed to run here because they haven't entered into Tingle Creek as well. Like, that shows that even these trainers don't have a fucking clue where they're going with the horses in this division. So yeah, look, Dean, I'm happy to watch it all kind of unfold now at the moment. But the one that I have my eye on is Long Press. But that's just about it.
Well, look, you mentioned Edwardstone. I just want to put it on the record. I did say it just before you. That ever comes off. But Edwardstone's interesting because, like, what do they do with it? It's obviously not going to be in the 2 mile, 2 mile 5 division. You take a punt at the King George, I think, and see what happens in front of you. Yeah, it's a big old price, big probably on the exchanges than available elsewhere, but around 33-1. I don't know. I've no great rush to steam in, but he does look like a profile of a horse that could appreciate a crack at Kempton's 3 miles. Okay, one final question on those markets before I move on. Fast or Slow is now 5-1 for a Gold Cup. It's an open question. It's not even a question. It's a statement. Very short there, Mo.
Unbelievably short, Dean. I couldn't imagine how you could vindicate back in that anti-post. He's been quite good. Don't get me wrong. He's been very good. But you're still looking at, like, if Willie Mullins can get Galopin Des Champs back, which these trainers can. I mean, Nella Indo looked spent that season, and he came back around a stormer in that Gold Cup. Willie will have him. He will be tilting him towards that. Jerry Colombe is also, he's still a grade 1 animal. He's just not as good as I thought he was, and that's probably just kind of itching the back of my head. I think Long Press is a better horse than Fast or Slow. Birdman's Game looks done to me. Shishkin, no. Gentleman's Game seems a big price as well, considering kind of maybe what he did, but he can't be good enough either. I mean, yeah, Dean, he deserves to be 5-1, but I think you'd want your head check to be backing him at 5-1 anti-post anyway for a goal.
Yeah, I mean, you'd lay him at 5-1. What price wouldn't you lay him at, Stephen? Fast or Slow for a Gold Cup?
I don't think I'd lay him at 10s. I believe a lot more in him now. But geez, he's on the go a long time. It's 4 years since he was jumping fences. So you'd wonder again, will he be past his peak by the time he gets to a Gold Cup in March at the age he is? But yeah, I think 5-1 is very short, but everything's very short. Like anti-post betting, unless you're picking out big price ones, it is very tough, I think. Even if he wins the Savills, sure, what'll he be? He'll be 4-1, won't he? He'd be 9-2. So yeah, I wouldn't be touching the 5s.
Stage Star is the other one, Dean. Sorry, that I'd love to see go for a Gold Cup. I thought he was mesmerisingly brilliant.
Not a hope he'll go for the Gold Cup.
He won't, unfortunately, because Paul Nicholls doesn't have the yard that he once had, and having a potential Ryanair winner is worth a lot to him. But the way Stage Star won that Paddy Power Gold Cup, he absolutely devoured him after making a mistake. I think he'd stay. I think he could well be a Gold Cup, but he's definitely going to follow the Throwdown Pat, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks like he stayed. Does everything so bleeding easy. His ears are all flicking around even while he's going at full pelt. He's an interesting horse, one that I now have a lot more time for than I did. Right, I'm going to throw some numbers at you here. Right, these are the RPR ratings of Chase debutants. 163 Galopin Des Champs, 160 Altior, 154 Bob Ollinger, 154 Sprinter Sacra, 153 Chacan Boursois, Duvan got a 153, Cato Star got a 152. Gaelic Warrior did a 158 on Chase debut. Are we talking about a potential Gold Cup horse of the future? He has his jumping inadequacies, I would say, and also he's a nutter. Just the kind of horse that I like, Stephen. I've never really loved this one.
Yes, it was a fair all RPR now, but that chart you're looking at, Geno put that up, and it was embarrassingly bad on Geno's part now because
Go on,
well, El Fabiolo 163 last year, not on it. Dysart Dynamo 158 last year, not on it. Shishkin ran to about 170 or something on debut, not on it. Look, those comparisons you're after throwing out are so shallow and hollow. Like I'd forget about it. But he did put up a huge number, deserved because I believe whatever the time is okay. I'm not time.
It's a big number.
Time is okay, and he won by a country mile. But I hated it now in terms of like he's 4-1 to win a novice chase at Cheltenham. He basically halved every single fence. They were the softest fences he jumped around, and he was just flicking through it. He didn't give anyone any little bit of air. It's not like, and I don't mean in an efficient low jumping technique. He literally was halving every fence the way he was jumping through it. He didn't look like he had any scope to me. Did not like him one bit. Couldn't have him as a chaser.
I think Johnny Deneen threw him up as value at that 4-1, Stephen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a big Johnny Deneen fan. Less so David Jennings now after that table. He's a disgrace to himself.
Do you know,
but
that might have been his research. I'm not sure DJ did that himself.
DJ did do it himself. He was texting me about it. I was laughing at him. But
he must have just been tapping away on his computer. Going,
he was worried he was going to get a bollock off Richie Forrestal as well. But anyway, no, I'm only slagging DJ. We're good friends.
No, of course.
So no, Johnny's a better judge than me, but I would disagree with him on this one.
Fair enough. Demo, did Gaelic Warrior impress you?
Yeah, from the point of view of I just keep underestimating this horse, and his engine impressed me. Like I saw people afterwards that seems to be the way anyway. There's so many people just waiting with tweets of, oh, what an airplane. They were the same after Facile Vega ran, and Facile Vega did nothing that day at all.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very overused emoji on Racehour.
Yeah. They're just kind of waiting. I underestimate the horse because he's just got an unbelievable engine, and he deserves more respect than I continually don't give him. I really don't. I've never liked him. That might just come back to the fact that he just keeps jumping right around Cheltenham, and that Cheltenham's not everything. He's like Beaver Salmon was still a brilliant horse.
I'm amazed, Emma. He has such a fan club still after burning like literally every hype merchant's punting bet slips at Cheltenham Festival the first time we saw him.
Yeah,
but everybody seemed to be on it.
Last year as well, there were still people putting them up as well for the festival again.
Yeah.
Until Cheltenham goes right-handed, he's not winning at the festival. It is as simple as that.
He's very short. He's very short to go in the novice chase this year.
Dean, just kind of one other one that really did impress me. And we always have a mare to follow, always. And in the honeysuckle covers, I thought Halka de Taber was I think that's how you say it, but Halka de Taber was absolutely brilliant at Cork. She jumped. She attacked every fence so well. They punted her a few times last season. And they really rate her highly. Fences seems to be the absolute making of her. Obviously, if Impervious gets back, she's a bet, but Colin Murphy didn't sound overly positive on that. When you look ahead of her in the market,
Mare's Chase.
Mare's Chase, sorry.
Yeah.
Dino Blue
is the winner
there for the taking. Good horse, but is there for the taking. Allegory de Vasti falls in a hole. This is a really open division, and 14-1 there about Halka de Taber, who was brilliant at Cork. Very similar starting point as Impervious had. I think we're looking at a serious Mare's Chase contender there.
Very good. Decent price still available. We'll be able to reference that as we go through the year, hopefully, if she continues on the upward curve. And final comments before we do start talking about National Hunt racing in general and what kind of a farce, or is it a farce? Shifkin turned the brakes on the weekend. Stephen, what are your...
I've no thoughts. I've been at the run order in case Diarmuid wanted to say anything, but I wouldn't be a horseman in the sense of knowing that they'll jump off if there's a long tom there or a whip to get them going. But he's
Or
always
cattle prod. There was always rumours of that before. So wasn't there?
like
Bring
he's
the
a
bake
sour
stick.
he's a sour old yolk, and he
Yeah,
always
he's
has
sour
been.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I mean, he could turn up at the weekend with a handicap of like 175, or he's still rated. If it all goes ahead at Newcastle, yeah. Okay, look, the extraterrestrial does what he wants, wins when he wants. That's Shishkin. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk about the national hunt season in general, because you can't escape it across, the vermin that is racing Twitter, and we're obviously part of that. It has the season become boring, Stephen? Has it become boring? I wallowed away on this last week about Gordon Elliott having 100 runners in a race and all the power in 1 yard and all that kind of stuff. And then I warbled on about we might get a walkover fight in fifth. We might get we're going to get some pretty disappointing drab action through the season. You gave out, I think, about everyone talking about Cheltenham this far out. It's exactly what we've just done. It's what everybody does. I kind of like that about the season. Go on. Is national hunt boring?
From a personal perspective, it is the Irish national hunt season in particular is very boring. I find the domination of the 2 yards extremely dull. Like, that Willie's going to Punchestown and Leopardstown, and Gordon's going to Down Royal, and they keep apart. All the good horses are in those yards. It's very dull. You have small fields in the UK and small fields in these good races. I think it is, and I think something has to be done, and I see no reason why something can't be done, because other sports do this all the time.
Reinvent themselves, you mean?
Yeah, and the common thread where we've ended up is Willie and Gordon dominating everything. That's a huge problem, and what it's leading to is lack of competition. There's a bit of a notion that Willies always try against each other. If you want to go back and that race Thurles today, there was a load of Willies in it, and sure, you couldn't know which was which. If you wanted to have a bet in it, how could you have a bet in it? How do you know? James de Burley went off 3-1. The winner went off 15-2. I couldn't have a view on it anyway. I don't find Willie running against Willie, even if they're trying anyway, interesting.
Gordon in handicaps is probably a fair analogy of the same thing. Like, he had however many in that race the other weekend, and he didn't know which one was going to win.
15.
I have a few suggestions.
Let's go.
Which tie in together. We have to reduce the number of races for a start. So there's clashes there, like that 1965 chase at the weekend. Shishkin 100% should have been in the Betfair chase. He's a 170 rated something Gold Cup horse. He shouldn't be able to go to Ascot and avoid them. So sport is all about having clashes and spectacles. And when it can't just be a dance to Cheltenham. We should have, when we were all growing up, we used to have really exciting weekends we could look forward to where horses ran 4 or 5 times before Cheltenham. So that's what we have to promote. So one thing, reduce the number of the big races. For example, in the Gold Cup, you have, let me see my notes now. I have this written down. You have, in Ireland, you'd have Down Royal, the John Durkin. Definitely don't need the 2 of those. The Clonmel Oil, all before Christmas, and this Thurles race. You have 4 races for Gold Cup horses before Christmas in Ireland. 1 would be enough, 2 would be enough. Then you have Tremor, the Savage Irish Gold Cup. So you have 7 kind of races in Ireland. In the UK, you have the Charlie Hall, the Betfair, the Old Roan, the 1965 chase, the Hennessy, arguably the rehearsal, maybe not, the Paddy Power, arguably, the King George, the Pillar chase, the Denman chase. You've 11 races there. Now, I reckon, and we were talking about this earlier, there's probably around 20 horses less than 200 to 1 for the Gold Cup. So there's kind of 20 to 25 contenders that might emerge, and there's 18 races between them before Cheltenham. We have to change the programme book to force them into competing against each other. That's number 1. Number 2, horses should be forced to have a minimum number of runs before Cheltenham. It sounds extreme. I don't think it is. Like, look at soccer.
I wouldn't say that's extreme. I think that's sensible. That makes a lot of sense.
So if you look at different sports, soccer, the Champions League emerged into group stages because people want to see the good teams playing against each other. Even GAA, a slow-moving glacial sport to move sometimes, like it looks like Formula 1 compared to horse racing anyway in terms of how it moves. Like, we've way more games now in GAA, whether it's good or bad or you like it. GAA, certainly Gaelic football, popular as ever been. TV audience is really strong. It's the talk of all Ireland when it's on. So more games, more of a spectacle. And the one I really, really look at is golf, which like golf looked to be dying before Tiger. Now Tiger came along and rescued the sport in a way, but now everyone seems to be obsessed with golf and betting on golf, because the PGA Tour is the be all and end all rather than Cheltenham. The majors aren't even the be all and end all. Every week you've massive competition, and the way they're doing it is they have these designated events that you have to play in X number of events, or you're not in the FedEx Cup, you're losing your bonuses, and so on and so forth. And it is making great entertainment every week. So I would say, number one, reduce the number of races. Number two, minimum number of runs, minimum 3, minimum. And if you don't make it, you're gone. Forget about it. And if your trainers, if it doesn't suit their trade and style, or it doesn't suit that breed of horse, the breed will change, the trainers will change, so be it. Number 3, trainers. I mean, we've loads of protection in terms of, in some sports, like NFL has the draft system to level the playing field. Soccer, which is driven by money even more than racing, has financial fair play. Everton were docked 10 points or whatever it was the other day. Like, why can't we have protectionism in terms of the number of horses trainers have? I would agree with that. And I would say that they should have a max 3 or 4 runners per race. Now, this is where it ties in. If you'd less races, horses had to run, and you could only have a max 3 per trainer, owners will have to start sending those horses to other trainers. Because if you only had 5 or 6 races before the Gold Cup and you had to run in 3 of them, and your trainer could only run 3, you can't send them all to Gordon. You can't send them all to Willie. You'll have to spread it around. So if you take small steps that tie in together, not just a trainer can have 4 runners, not just a little change to the program, it's going to have to be joined up thinking. Another thing I think we could do as a sport, get rid of bumpers. Complete waste of time. They're running a point of points. They're coming off the flat. We don't need bumpers, full stop. That's another point, and I see absolutely no argument for keeping them. You could keep them for 3-year-olds, maybe something like that. I think you could have bonus schemes and bonus races for smaller trainers, only where they can run against each other. That's a small point. And I think if you want to get really radical, the way we're running them, point-to-point season, bumpers, novice, if you want to keep all that, you have to get rid of novice chases. Because they're 5 seasons before they get running an open company. So you can run novice chases before Christmas, and that's it, gone. Now, I love the Arkle as much as the next man, but maybe there's a price we have to pay if we don't take the other measures that are needed. But look, that's just a few. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's just a few practical suggestions. One other thing, finally, sorry. And the 3-day festival, it looks like the horse is bolted there. But look, charge people £200 a day to go in for 3 days. I'll happily pay that it doesn't have to be 4 days, and that the quality increases. But that's only Cheltenham. To be honest, I want to see more horses running throughout the season, and what I'm suggesting is more about that. So that's my little rant on my pedestal I've had. That there's some proactive measures I think sport could take. Don't think they will, but just some ideas.
To me, so much of that is gold, Stephen, and music to my ears. But the chances of anything like that happening just seems so remote when we have the people in charge of the sport that we currently have, who come up with weird and wonderful ideas that are all not really aimed at suiting the.
But they're not weird and wonderful. They're not. You know, other sports do this all the time.
PA every season are bringing in new rules, completely new rules. Like
look at what darts did, even snookers did through the Hearns. I mean, if Hearns got their hands on horse racing, imagine what would happen. I'm not saying
I think that's what's needed, though, isn't it? Something like that has to happen, because I don't think you have the people in any kind of decision making process in various horse racing authorities that will ever come up with ideas like this, Stephen. It's almost too.
Well, there's a lot of factions in racing. Trainers, like the trainers who scream loudest and who have the biggest say, would be dead against this, you know, because the powerful trainers are the ones that would be affected because they lose more horses.
Not going to want to give up 100 horses from
but something has to be done, because I really do feel the sport, it's worrying for the sport, just the way it's going. Now I still love it. I'm not bored by it, like I say, but the race themselves are a bit boring. Then you have a race like the Coral Gold Trophy this weekend, like a fantastic race. More of that, please. Like that's the thing. And it's fantastic because there's a spread of traders, it's competitive field, it's exciting. So all we need is more of that. Simple as.
All we need is more of that. Look, there were a few I pick out from what you were saying there about the program just needing to be limited. The 3 runs pre-Cheltenham, I think, is a given. I don't know why anyone tolerates a horse being just kept back and held up for just one day when we could see it all year round. Even as an owner, I would be in favour of that, even if I thought it was its best chance. I'd want my horse to run And I put them up there. And the Cheltenham argument you made about the idea of, but put it back to 3 days and charge more. I've been saying that for years because they've just diluted it so much that it's actually become a hardship to people to go.
It's not going to happen though. Keeping it at 4 is more of a battle. That's a battle in itself now. 3 days is not happening. No matter what happens, it's just not happening.
No, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. I can't see it unless, like we were saying, you end up with completely different ownership at decision making level in this game. We're not going to get it. Dermo, did you want to say anything on that before I do move this on to what should be happening this weekend?
No, like I not particularly. No, like I completely agree with everything Cass has said. I've been saying it the last few weeks. Like there's 47 horses last season in the UK rated 150 or above, and you've got these races that they're trying to throw them all into consistently over the season. Just doesn't work. There isn't enough of a field there. We're allowing all of these very good 3 and 4 year olds to be sold off to Australia and Hong Kong. There's no battle to keep them. It means that the top level of our sport is thinning. It means that handicaps are much more important, are much more feasible to the crop of horses there is there. And we're in this one big, massive race towards the bottom. And there's nobody safeguarding our sport. There's nobody safeguarding the very top level. I agree with Kat. It's great to have the Coral Gold Cup and all these races there, but they're all handicaps. We have enough horses for that. The real level that needs protecting now and needs to be properly minded is the top level, where we don't have enough horses now for it. And when we do, they're all with Gordon or they're all with Willie Mullins. Alan Jones had his first winner yesterday for a year. And after the race, he said that horse racing is in a very difficult spot now. And obviously I'm paraphrasing, but he said horse racing is in a very difficult spot now. He said, we are funded by owners and punters. He said owners are battling for ever diminishing prize money. And when they want to have a bet on, they're being factored within an inch of their life, or they're being asked, obviously, to provide documents, etc. When you've got the two main factors and people in your sport, the two main bodies that are struggling massively to either get money on or to get money out of the sport, we're in this massive race towards the bottom. The top level is fucked. It's basically fucked. And 47 horses in all the UK, and the majority of them in Paul Nicholls and Nicky Henderson's yard as well. It's a massive problem, and reducing the fixture list. The reason why they're all avoiding that is that basically, first of all, the IHRB are in a mess of their own. They're in front of the Oireachtas now at the moment in Ireland, and they've got financial problems of their own. They're not going to be recommending it. They're not going to be recommending any big changes. And in the UK, it's all about nearly being elected and being the most popular person in the room. Coming forward with suggestions like this will lead to jobs losses. It will lead to race courses having to let people go.
It would lead to less race courses. I mean,
yes,
most of them are kept alive by media rights, right? That's what they're kept alive by. It's not people through the door because they price themselves out of even wanting people there. I think it costs them more to have a load of people on course than they'd be bothered to spend. So just
when a race towards the bottom, and it only is a massively radical thought that'll fix the sport, and I just don't. Unfortunately, I sadly don't see it coming any day now.
And Stephen, you said, you're not bored with national hunt racing, but I tell you what, there's a lot of people disillusioned with it in general. If it takes, best part of 2 months to get 100,000 signatures to stop affordability checks, shows you that they were already here, and we know we're not going to stop nothing, whether we sign a piece of paper or not. And it's all in a bit of a horlicks. Okay. Nice segue into what's coming this weekend, I think, as we get stuck in to some decent racing. God willing that it's on, of course. I did notice at Newbury tomorrow, we might see the next great white hope, which is Jericho de Repine. That could be out for Nicky Henderson. And Hermes Allen has a chasing debut lined up there as well. If they race there Friday, Stephen, I saw you put this on Twitter, they probably won't race there on Saturday.
Yeah, my understanding normally is if they take off those covers, they're hard to get back down, and the coal gets into the ground quicker, and it's that's it then for the next day. That's definitely happened in other race courses before, but sure, I could be talking shite. But sure, we might as well we'll rattle through this in case it's off. But we're going to Newbury Friday first in case it's on, and then Fairyhouse, and then back to Newbury and Newcastle, because we're going to presume Saturday might not be on. Is that the way we're going to do it?
Sure, that works for me. Like, I picked up a couple of horses there on Friday that I thought were interesting to watch. I don't think either of them will be betting options, but perhaps.
What are they, Dean? Now, I'm certain no one listens to this podcast for your tips, Dean, but you fire ahead.
Hey, that's totally fair. Yeah, Hermes Allen. I wouldn't say it was a tip now, but he's obviously going to go in the John Franklin Novice Chase, the Grade 2 there. And I think they might get 4 or 5 turn up for it. Colonel Mustard is going to be chasing for Lorna Fowler. But yeah, Hermes Allen's got to be on a lot of people's list for a horse to get involved with over Novice Chase. So see how that goes for Harry Cobden.
Hermes Allen, he kind of is the stage star, went to Cheltenham disappointed, having had a savage novice campaign. He could be, I know everyone says he's small or whatever. There's plenty of good chasers that were small. Yeah. So he could be a bit of a stage star, couldn't he?
Well, it could be. And certainly one to be watching if they get racing. The other one is this Jericho de Repene, this point winner that they keep saying is the next big thing out of Nicky Henderson child. There was one last year that was Jet Powered who shot to the top of different markets. That's also ended up over the weekend. Keep an eye on that. But yeah, they were the two I was going to put out. I didn't think there was a bet on the card, Stephen. Did you?
Sorry, what was the question?
Newbury Friday. I didn't think there was a bet on the card.
Oh, a bet on the card. I thought Nickelback against Hermes Allen. I'd probably just chance him at 4-1. He jumps really well. He's going to go off in front. He's already running to high 140s. Hermes Allen's going to have to be good to catch up with him on debut. So I chance Nickelback at 4-1. Didn't think there was any bet with the 3 mile hurdle. I don't think Marie's Rock will stay 3 miles. That's the only thing. But then Dashel Drasher, I'm not sure he quite stays either, even though he was second in a stairs hurdle. And Paisley Park's 11. So yeah, no bet on that one. But I would back Nickelback at 4-1. That's the only bet I'd have.
Fair enough. I do know someone who does think Marie's Rock stays the trip. It's Dermot Nolan.
Yeah, he ran well an Arel Keel hurdle, which is nearly there. But I wouldn't be backing her odds on. She's a mentler. I definitely wouldn't be backing her those odds. I mean, she's either she's a typical woman. She's up and down every second day. So the so yeah, I'd be happy enough to.
Typical woman. That's disgraceful, Dermo, by the way.
That's going to get clipped up.
I'm in a house at the moment with a 7-month-old daughter who's just not sleeping at the moment, not sleeping at all, and my wife and I aren't getting on. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the comments of Dermot Nolan do not represent Cass & Co. Anyway, I can tell you
that.
nor
Gambling.com.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, there's a Highlands also out there. Mo, come on, you've looked at this Friday card at Newbury. You must have found something.
No, I absolutely hate that card. I think it's a terror. It's an interesting card from a watching point of view, but there is not a punt on that card.
There's a horse, Woodrow. Do you remember him? That horse, the filly that won at Down Royal for Gordon Elliott, the 3-year-old race.
Yes, I do.
She's odds on now, and I'd say she's fairly average. So I'd be mad keen. Now, I don't know the English form. I would have liked one Virginia Lodge, but she's not running. So if you could find something against her, a little bit of dirty each way, I'd be mad keen to take her on.
That's in the listed juvenile 115.
Yeah.
Widow. It's currently 6-4 on. You're right, Stephen. Yeah, indeed. All right. What about then? Let's do a little jump across the water, and we'll have a look at Fairyhouse on Saturday. A couple of horses I thought were interesting go in the opener. I think three card brags in the novice chase that kicks us off
against Monty Star.
Yeah, against Monty Star, but also a couple of horses that might be a strangle off between these two for Cab Nathala and Corbett's Cross. to see
oh my God, Nick Rocket, isn't that's an unbelievable race?
It's a good
Nick
race,
Rocket as well. Yeah, Nick Rocket looks an absolute weapon.
Yeah. I might even take the stroll down the road just to go and watch that one in the flesh. That's very good. Normally I would be there over the 2 days. But yeah, I'm fascinated by that opening chase. And of course, I've got Ballydurn is going to run at 12:50. Probably won't matter what trip that runs at. That is supposed to be God reincarnated. Then Brispel, one of yours, is on the card there, man, the Grade 3. And I did find Tony Martin Steamer for the 3:10. Stephen, before we get to them, why don't you tell me what you're going to be getting up to at Fairyhouse on Saturday? Fairyhouse should be on. I only live down the road. It's all right there.
Well, the most interesting one for me, just on a personal level, I'm good friends with the owner. Helvic Dream runs a Group 1 winner on the flat, running over hurdles in the 12:50 against Ballyburn. Now, Ballyburn is Ballyboat. I'm convinced he's really slow. I mean, beating Irish Panther, like he's freaking useless. This is the most overhyped person I've ever heard.
Panther for the Ballyboat.
Yeah, Irish Panther is a complete fraud of a horse. Is he running today? He's running today, so we might see how he gets on. He'd probably win now because that always happens.
Yeah,
but
it does always happen.
I reckon Ballyburn is an absolute boat now, and if Helvic Dream stays, Helvic Dream will be 8-1 now. Firefox will be second favourite. It'll be something like 10 to 11 Ballyburn, 11 to 4 Firefox, 8 to 1 Helvic Dream. If Helvic Dream jumps, he could do them all for toe now. That'd be really interesting. But Firefox looks a good horse as well. So I'd probably have a right bet in Firefox each way because he's going to be in the 3 and he's going to be second favourite against Ballyburn. They might go the sneaky 5 to 2 that you can't really back him each way. I'd always kind of be 3 to 1 as my 11 to 4, 3 to 1. I'll back them each way. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling raw mace here, but that's a right race as well. Jesus, great card. To be honest, I hadn't even really looked at it now. I'm only scrolling down through.
Hey, look, Fairyhouse. This weekend at Fairyhouse is where the pros are watching this weekend. That's the fact. You might all be interested in what's going on over at Newcastle and Newbury, but Fairyhouse has the right ones there. Help Dreams of Interest and Cheltenham Mead, Sam Ewing in that 12.50 against Ballyburn. Demo, what matter what trip Ballyburn turns up, it's going to get a freebie up front, and they're just going to let it go and do its thing. I know Steve's just said the opposite.
Yeah, and all I know is what Ballyburn properly was after he won last season. Brian Hayes, we were doing his blog, and Brian Hayes made sure to put in that he hadn't seen Patrick Mullins come home. That buzzing after a racehorse, a bumper winner, and a year or two anyway. Not that obviously he's on very good ones all the time, but that he pretty much definitely would have rode him in the champion bumper last season had the owner stopped them going to for whatever reason. I did lost a horse before Cheltenham or something, but so he could be very good. But again, yeah, kind of that's a watching breeze. A bit gutted, Dean. I thought Risk Bell would be one for one of the big handicap hurdles over Christmas, mark 134, but still gets quite a lot of weight here from Nusret. And she's a good horse. That was a decent Fred Winter, I think, as well. As good as they get anyway. And then the opener, yeah, I can't wait for that beginner's chase. I do think Monty Star is very, very good. I think he was always going to be a chaser. He's only 6 years old as well, so he's gone over fences at a very good time.
Well, you're going to get a price, Dermo. I can tell you that.
I reckon he will. Yeah,
He'll be fourth in the bet.
Yeah.
So he'll have to be 7 to 1 anyway if you fancy him. And
the only thing it will be the trip might be sharp enough for, but I still think he's a proper racehorse. Henry lets them go as well, really. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to him as well, Dino.
Monty Star and the open Risk Bell, of course, is in that 235 Grade 3 on Saturday at Fairyhouse. I thought there was a very interesting horse, and if I'm at the course, I'll be getting involved anyway. But that Zanderbag that came over to Tony Martin's last year is in the handicap at 310, rating of 113. I'm pretty sure they were trying to tee that up for a good crack at something at Cheltenham. Didn't happen. I reckon this might win here and head on its way for a bit of Christmas.
Of 113, it definitely wasn't happening anyway.
No.
Jesus, they really overshot their mark there, didn't they?
So can't always go to plan. I'd be surprised. Though if it can't operate off that. We'll put it that way. And Ryan Moore rode it last day at York when it pitched up in August. Cooper had all the steering duties before that, trying to get it to the festival, and obviously the horse didn't consent. But I think 12 months is a long time. I'd be interested in that. Heskin's on board, Demo, and I'd imagine that might be a punt to 310. That's where I'd be going. Okay, so we move on then from Fairyhouse. Should we do Fairyhouse Sunday?
Do Fairyhouse Sunday, and we'll do it quickly, and then we'll do Anthem. Yeah. Then the listeners can tune out then if they want.
Let's do that. First one in the running order for Fairyhouse Sunday is the juvenile race, but there really is very little to go on. But Stephen, you're a man with your ear close to the ground. Anything of interest in this bunch of 3-year-olds?
His head up his arse more like than his ear did.
Yeah, but when I do my squats. The juvenile, no, Willie won it last year. He just has one entry, Batman Chirac. Gordon has 3 entries. He's won 3 of the last 5. Woodrow is going, so it's going to be Calaconte. I would say she could be his one. Caliosan looked a bit slow, I thought. Calaconte beat absolutely nothing at Nace, but looked very good. So she'd be interesting. Nara as well won a listed hurdle, I think, in France. For Henry de Bromhead, but we don't have the entry, so we'll fly through that. The Porterstown, I thought, was impossible, like a lot of these stay in handicap chases, because Elliott has loads in it. I'll wait to see the final field for that one. The Bar one, the Royal Bond, very, very. It's not a race I can ever get a handle on, to be honest. I always find one run and then into Grade 1 very tricky. I was quite impressed with Antubber, maybe not as much as everyone else, but I think he should be favourite over Encanto Bruno. So if both of them line up, I'd be more in the Antubber camp. Henry will obviously only one run off Slade Steele and Antubber. So I'd probably go on Antubber in that race. And in the Drinmore, I think 2-1, let's be clear about it, is a good price. Even though he's an 8-year-old, I think he looks by far the best of that field so far over fences in terms of who is going to run. I'd imagine it'll be him, Found a 50, Sharjah. That'll be about it. There'll be Maya Maximus might be out for a spin. So I think 2-1, let's be clear about it, is a good bet in the Drinmore because he's been by far the most impressive of these so far over fences. In the Hatton's Grace then, I will be a really good looking race. Imperial Pass versus Teahupoo. I'd imagine Irish Point won't run. I wouldn't sleep on Astro Diamond either. I thought she was hugely impressive in winning her grade 3 and her grade 1. It'd be a big step up for her, but she looks quick. She loves Fairyhouse, so I wouldn't sleep on her either. And I just have a little question mark over Imperial Pass. Yes, he was awesome at Cheltenham. Did he flash his tail a little bit up the run at Cheltenham? And then he looked very moody, very sour at Punchestown. Like there's no way down the back and turning in you thought he was going to win. He won well in the end, beating High Definition by about 7 lengths. But I have a little question mark about him. And Willie's comments afterwards are very interesting. And if you bear with me, actually, I'll click into him and get the quote. And I just wonder, is this fella going to be a moody fucker? Because he used to do anything, he used to show anything at home. Willie said that before back in January last year. Then he was working the lights out. Then he was working the lights out again, going to Punchestown, and he ran rotten. So not ran rotten. He won, of course. But Willie said, would you have backed him turning in? Me neither. Imperial Pass didn't impress me at all. I'm delighted he won it by so far, but during the race he was not impressed with me. He didn't look like he was enjoying it, and maybe Cheltenham took much more out of him, blah, blah, blah. Now, they might have him sweet, they might have sweetened him up and so on, but if a horse is moody like that and is showing signs of it, I'd just be wary of it. That's just something to watch out for with Imperial Pass, rather than me saying it next week that, he was always a moody old yoke. I think, he's unbeaten, but maybe he is a moody old yoke, and it'd be interesting to see.
Fair enough. He's going to go off 7-4 on or something like that. Teahupoo will be second, I imagine. And then it's Rags after that. And I'm including some good horses calling them Rags against Imperial Pass. Then by that card on Saturday, Stephen's rattled through it there. If we skip over the Juvenile, because we're going to find out more from watching and doing anything else. Did anything impress you in the Porterstown or in the Royal Bond? Or in the Drinmore? Small field for the Drinmore this year, but it's high quality. I always like the Drinmores when you turn up at Fairyhouse and there's 15 of them and they've all got big futures in front of them. We don't have that this year.
No, but again, this just goes back to the tinning of the top class herd. We just don't have as many good ones as we used to have. But the Porterstown Called the Tune was very unlucky in the Cork Grand National, beaten the short head by Sir Bob, but was hampered quite badly coming into the last there under Michael O'Sullivan. Called the Tune should have won that race. Sir Bob was a really well landed punt by Robert Tyner. A name that listeners will know that I've stopped tipping horses from. But
we haven't heard his name mentioned for a while.
A very adept trainer on his day. But Called the Tune, he's been second now 3 times in a row, but he's getting there. And Barry Connell, when he starts to really hum in on one like this, it's they tend to win. I think this is one of the poorest Porterstown we've seen in a long time. Like it's genuinely not great. So him off 124 there, he's guaranteed to run. Obviously, I'd be quite confident. That if he does turn up, Called the Tune takes the world of stopping there, regardless of what Gordon Elliott tries to throw at it. In the Royal Bond, I'm happy to take on the front of the market completely with the one run thing, as Cass said, but I really liked what Facile Mo did at Cork. Made a Horlicks of the 3 hurdles out, but bar that, just looked like a serious engine. Thomas Mullins, who'd be the quietest of the Mullins, let's say, he really effusive about this horse afterwards and was just kind of saying that the horse was schooling really well at home. He was disappointed with his jumping. He'll have to get that together, but mentioned the Royal Bond straight away after the race as well. Facile Mode for me at 7-1 does look a decent bet there. In the Drinmore, I completely agree with Cass. Let's be clear about it. Is clear of these. I think Found a 50 wants to go up. I'd say he's more likely to run in a 3 mile sixer than a JLT at the festival. And then
hold on. What price will Factor File be for the Brown Advisory when American Mike wins the Drinmore?
He won't be in the Dreamer. He won't run it. He wouldn't be 10-1 if he was running. And Factifile, yeah, he's grand. He's a fine horse, but I wouldn't be hanging my cap off him, Dean. He was put in his place fairly well today. Impair Pass, he's he might be sour, but he's still the best horse there. The fact that Willie Mullins was talking straight away after Cheltenham, as in let's have a pop at Constitution Hill, would tell you exactly what he thinks of him. And then finally in the 310, I love these handicap hurdles, absolutely love them. I thought Foxy Girl was given a really bad ride at Down Royal. She ran through really well, laid on behind Magic Tricks. Magic Tricks will be up towards the front of the market. I'd like her. And I also would like Jeff Kidder when they eventually do put him into a handicap hurdle as well. I think he definitely has a decent race in him. He hasn't ran a handicap since running the Fred Winter all those years ago. But Foxy Girl for me at 10 stone 6, 125, I think she should go much closer than she did Down Royal. The hold up tactics were a bit over the top. So I think she definitely has a big chance there. But call the tune, Dean, if he runs in that 12.25 at Fairyhouse. Yeah, 12.55, absolutely love him. Really do.
In the Porter's Town, yeah. Fair play. That'd be a main shout. I've got some previous with a few of these. Ballier stock I'll probably go for in the Royal Bond if it turns up. I will be taking on top of that market and having a go with that. I did fancy Tiupu against Imperi Pass at the prices, but I'll see how they line up there. And where else they go? Oh, of course, the blind's in that 310 then. Always time to get your money back. Always. It's always an opportunity.
Do you know, like, you could actually just set up a bot to back all the horses, the same horses every week. You put your 50 horses in, automate your whole system, your whole season, and you don't have to do anything.
How do you think I do it for you? That's how I do it.
Yeah. He's not even hosting today. That's just open AI there.
This is just AI. I just go to ChatGPT. What horses would Dean Ryan back this weekend?
Yeah.
And then it spits them all out of me, running over and everything.
Dean's down his boxers off camera, just shouting at us if it was some AI model he has.
All right, look, that was Fairyhouse. It's going to be a belter, and it's going to be on, I would say. So we should all be good there. Of course, it is the Old Hennessy, the Coral Gold Cup, this weekend at Newbury. If the weather permits, I'm going to get sick of saying it. Stephen Cass, got to start with you because you put up a horse at a very decent price earlier in the season, Mile Mission. Very likely golf favourite.
Yeah, he probably won't on the day. I'd imagine Complete Unknown will, just because Nichol's much more solid profile. Second Cherry Clam at Aintree and so on. It'll look fairly good, but he's never actually won over 3 miles. I don't think he's as good a horse as Malheur Mission. Thing with Malheur Mission, I mean, I was putting him up a good few weeks ago. It's the John McConnell form. They're just running rotten. Now, the only thing is Malheur Mission has run really well already this season, so I'm holding out hope. But I actually, if we were doing this pod afresh, I don't think I would tip him up at 7-1. I couldn't.
What would you tip up today, Stephen?
I would tip up Eldorado Allen. I thought he ran a cracker at Ascot because Freddie Gingell gave him one of the worst rides you'd ever see, unless he was getting him fit for this, which he probably was, because Tizard said it in a stable tour that he's going to have one spin before the Hennessy. He's down to 154 now, and I think he's dangerously handicapped. You could see at Ascot, loads of the ability still there. If you look at him compared to Midnight River, he's a £9 swing for 9 lengths at Aintree. Last year, he was second in the Betfred Chase, second at the Charlie Hall, fourth in the King George. Loves Newbury, beat Royal Pagaille there in the Denman Chase. Very consistent. 154. He's a bit like when Carruthers won it. Do you remember he was kind of the class horse? I did. Kind of a Gold Cup outsider class horse coming back down the weights. One time he was rated high 160s, or certainly 165 anyway. So he's still only, is he 8 or 9? He's not too old anyway.
He's 9 now.
Yeah. And if he was off level weights with those ones around 152, 154, he's every bit as good at them, and he's 25-1. So if it's on Eldorado Allen, I have copious notes. I could talk about all the horses in this race, but I won't because it probably won't be on. But Eldorado Allen would be the one I'd back.
Fair play. Mile Mission in the book from earlier on in the season, and Eldorado Allen would be your poke right now at the prices. Makes sense, don't it?
Yeah, I followed Stephen Cassian on Malheur Mission. I don't like agreeing with Stephen on anything, but I found myself a few times.
Back in classic getaway.
Yeah,
classic getaway.
I just never do. Yeah, but definitely have followed him in on this horse. So I'll be cheering on Mallory Mission. Very similar logic for me, but I think Zanza is a huge price, Dean, at 22 to 1.
God.
Oh my God.
Really, really do. This horse is a pig everywhere, but not a pig. Sorry, I'm in really bad form. I haven't slept well in a few days. So I have to preempt that previous comment I made about women as well. I'm probably going to be cancelled over that. But anyway, I'm in foul humour. But 22 to 1 for a horse who won a Denman Chase here last season. He's giving £3 to Mallory Mission. He's 9 years old. He's been to all the dances here at Newbury. He tends to always deliver here. He'll be racing around mid-div. He'll come through late. Philip Hobbs and Johnson White, seem to be having a decent season. Dean, I've never backed Zanza before. You know that. I always slag you about Zanza, but at 22 to 1 for a horse that came here and won a Grade 2 last season, and because of a high senior, his mark his weight is absolutely unreal. So Zanza for me here is I think he's a cracking price at 22.
Never thought I'd hear you say that ever, Dermo. Look, let's test the AI theory here very quickly, right? Assuming I'm going to have at least a tenner on Zanza, okay? Just assume that, Dermo. If you were my AI bot here at this point, what horse have I come down on? Bearing in mind that my anti-post pick, Beauport, was taken out of the final declaration.
Oh, Dusart,
so
Dusart's the other one.
100%. Dusart is back. Yeah. Dusart. Yeah, why not? I think he was... he had all sorts of problems last year. If you go back to what we all thought Dusart was going to be, he'd be very interesting in here at 10 stone 13. And there he is, 8 years old.
God, we were bullish behind Dusart as well, weren't we? Going into that Cheltenham, the race won by Long Press. Considering he was 20 to 1, it was a very bullish outpace. It was wrong as well. We have to stress that, but it was a very bullish shout.
Yeah. Look. Let's put it this way, and this is a Stephen Cass mantra as well, right? If he wins this, he's going for the Gold Cup. So I'm quite happy to back him to win this, and then another go at his Gold Cup odds after that, because he'll be a big player. I think he's got every chance of 10 stone 13. He would have been my second pick in the race. I can't not back Zanza. So we'll move on from there. Was there anything else?
Fairness, D, now you're also going to back Stolen Silver, Our Power, probably remastered.
No.
A high senior might get a few quid.
No, none of them.
Stephen Cass is painting a very bad picture here, Dean.
No, never been a fan of any of them.
Seen around outside Ladbrokes there in Rathout looking for a cigarette butt on the floor as well.
If anyone can get online, it has to be Dean, in fairness.
Right. You're going low now, Stephen. You're going low. But look, we'll move on. It's true. No,
I'm sorry. You're a very good host.
It's fine. Thanks.
You're a very good host.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
okay. I did mention as well. I mean, that Saturday card, again, if it's on, Jet Powered would be interesting. Me, if that turns up in the 140 after all the hype train was after it last year, I'd imagine that's going to have a lot of fun in handicap. Starts up on 131. I did see Punt Des Champs, Dermo's mate, is entered up against one that I like. Bad Dermo. That's a very hot race. The Jerry.
Yeah, bad by name and bad by nature, isn't it?
Find out.
Yeah, it's Punt Des Champs. I saw him last. I'm happy to give up on him now. Completely and utterly. Just the kind of rest of the card quickly. Really looking forward to seeing what Jet Powered, how good he was, Dean. He was they thought he was a Grade 1 animal at one point.
You should follow me in there, right?
Yeah, he's 131, the 155 at Newcastle. Just wanted to say, I think Benson can give Constitution Hill a proper race.
That's in my notes, Dano. That's in my notes. Is Benson the only one to topple Constitution Hill in the fighting fifth?
You did say that the only thing that could get Constitution off the bridle was a car. Well, Benson is a car. That's what he is.
Love it.
He's a machine.
Yeah. Constitution Hill, of course, going for that procession of the fighting fifth up against the mighty Benson. I saw Ciel de Neige is going to get a couple of stone from Shishkin in the rehearsal chase, and he's gone now to Ben Haslam. They'll have fun with that one in time. Stephen, did you have anything across Newcastle and Newbury cards that, if it's on, you would be on?
Yes, loads. I did loads of work because you never do any work for on Monday or Tuesday, but I've all the work done, so I might as well rattle through it. 140, Irish Hill against Jet Powered. He won a good soft at Ascot last year. It's good soft here now, and at that run at Ascot, he beat Too Friendly, Petit Tonnerre, Hom Public. He's only a pound higher than that after being 10th in the Martin Pipe. He went to Kempton and got a very soft ride to be fourth in a Pertemps qualifier. Probably still needs to go up a bit anyway if he's going to run at the Pertemps. So 129, Cobden on board, 9-1. I like that. The Jerry Field under control of Nicky's. She's obviously even money or whatever. She's won at the course. The former Sandown win beating Iberico Lord. Very impressive. She's tiny though. She's tiny, but it's not a million that she would turn into a champion hurdle horse. The last Nicky horse to run in this off 137 was
Epitant, was it?
Yeah. So, God, they're quite similar under control in Epitant.
And she put Iberico Lord away last season. I was going to say that as well afterwards. Not about the champion hurdle. I'm not going to claim that far. But hammered him, she hammered him.
Yeah. Now he was coming back at the line, but the race put to bed, jumping the last at Sandown, which isn't easy. But the one, if I was to back one against her, I would back actually Punt Des Champs. He never got into the booth. Fine. Yeah, he went to Ascot, beaten 10 lengths by Blue King Daru. That's not as bad a run as it looked.
No, it looks good now.
And he as good as won that race at Wetherby. We were watching, no, we weren't. We were talking on WhatsApp as they jumped off with that race at Wetherby when he was second. And I said, this race is all over there after giving, who was the horse now? I'll just click in. The Richmond Lake. They gave Richmond Lake a complete freebie, let him go off 10 lengths in front. So Punt Des Champs, I think, was probably the best horse in the handicap of that. So you're getting a winner without a penalty, if you ask me. And he's a massive price. And it wasn't in the Skelton stable tour there during the week either, which I like. But he's 14s there now. He was 20s, but I think the corner has to turn for Skelton. I just give him a bit of a squeak. Let me quickly look at.
That's about to erase that field.
It is a good race. And in the rehearsal, I really like Bill Baxter. He goes from the front, which is we want at Newcastle. A really, really good jumper. He wants soft ground. He was giving weight to Matter Mission and Thunder Rock the last day, and he was right there jumping the last with them with very good horses. He's won over 2.6.5 on heavy. He's only been out of the first four twice in 13 starts. So look, I just think he goes from the front, and he's exactly what you need at Newcastle. So 10-1 in the rehearsal. Bill Baxter, I think, is a very big price. I think a really, really big price. But anyway, it won't be on, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, Bill Baxter, take it. It gets best part of 2 stone and £6 out of the handicap against Shifkin. If that goes to post at 3:05 on Saturday. Okay. I think we did route through it. Dermo, did you have anything else over the Saturday stuff that might be on, might be off?
Just one more at Fairyhouse. Champion Green runs for Padraig Roach in the 310 on Saturday. Champion Green was a horse who was quite well thought of by Joseph O'Brien. Caught my eye one day at Limerick when kind of unlucky behind Dr. Churchill. Went on and finished behind Brazil in that ill-fated Fred Winter for Gaelic Warrior fans. Was off for 348 days and actually looked okay the last day. 25-1 first run for his new yard. And Padraig Roach, he's a very good trainer. Really, really good trainer getting these horses back. This horse is only 5 years old. Champion Green rated 119. Champion Green was much better than that. 89 on the level before going to Joseph. This Champion Green is a horse, in my opinion, that has plenty left in his mark. And Mark Walsh booked for Saturday for Padraig Roach. Dean screams to me as Saturday might be the day.
Thank you. Okay. Let's do best of the weekend. You might want to steer towards something that's on. So if you think it's not going to be on, by all means, give me a couple. Steve.
Let's be clear about it. Around 2-1 at Fairyhouse seems a good bet to me.
Fair game. Dermot Nolan.
So if he runs Call to Tune in the Porterstown.
Yep.
But just knowing that he is running, so my second nap, let's say, or my second place nap would be Champion Green in that 310 at Fairyhouse. I think he's much, much better than that, Mark.
Lovely. Thank you very much. For the AI bots out there, the Dusart jet powered double will definitely be on my list. But I'm very keen to see Zanderbad run at Fairyhouse at 310. There's no odds out there, so you can't really throw it out there. So I'll throw the Nicky Henderson one on, and any kind of price above, I don't know, 5-2, 3-1, I think it'll lap in the 310 at Fairyhouse. But I wish everyone all the best. Hopefully the racing is all on. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Racehour, brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com. My thanks go to Stephen Cass and to Dermot Nolan, and we'll be back next week to put the world to rights.
Relentless